Marvel Heroes is out now for the PS4, will be later for the Xbox One, maybe by the time you watch it, it's already out for the Xbox One. It's a free-to-play sort of Diablo-style game, and here to discuss with me, because, Zach, you played it a lot, man. Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I actually played this game quite a bit, probably about, I'd say, over 100 hours or so
Wow.
on the PC. I played it a lot when Marvel Heroes 2016 came out, which brought forth the controller support, the full-on controller support
cool.
for the PC. Beforehand, it was kind of like a half-assed, like you could use a controller and move around, but you really couldn't do much else unless you really, went forth and like X-Mappered it or something like that. But
Yeah.
now on the PC, it has a lot of the controller support and a lot of the stuff that the Marvel Heroes Omega will have as well. So yeah, I definitely look forward to sort of, I guess you could say, describing it to you guys in terms of my experience with it and also what you'll be sort of able to do within the game.
Yeah, so the PS4 version is out right now, of course, playable with a controller, and yeah, the Diablo worked well with a controller as well, so yeah, that already showed that these types of games can work, and yeah, this works as well, pretty well with a controller, so that's pretty cool. But it's like you mentioned Omega, so what is going on there? Because this is not also the full version, right? They're not like all the characters that are on the PC right now.
Yeah, so Marvel Heroes Omega basically is just like this. It's the same thing as Marvel Heroes, but I think they just named it Omega because there is some differences. For example, right now there's only 38 of the 60 playable characters available on the PC, so you guys don't have all the heroes that are available, but you probably will see them trickle in much faster than we did on PC because they're already made. They just have to sort of transfer them over, make them work well with the PlayStation 4 and so on and so forth, and also the Xbox One too. But you could try all the heroes to level 10 and fully unlock them just by playing the game and obtaining a special currency, which is basically accomplished just by killing things and accomplishing things within the game.
Yeah, so what is the game like? I mean, you played it a lot.
So it's by the Imaginator of Diablo 2. I think he also dabbled with Diablo 1 as well. And so a lot of what basically the changes that were in Marvel Heroes compared to like Diablo were somewhat of a result of him not really liking where Diablo 3 was going. If you remember back to when Marvel Heroes launched, it was around the time when Diablo 3 was a baby, like it just released. And so when Marvel Heroes came out, you were able to see direct sort of comparisons, but also improvements upon what they were doing because he was someone who worked really heavily with the Diablo franchise. And so Marvel Heroes as a whole has progressed a lot over time to be somewhat of a MMO action RPG, but not necessarily super massive in the sense that there's a cap on how many people can be in a particular zone at a time. But that cap is quite large. So when you're going through the 9-chapter storyline, there's going to be multiple zones for you to go into, a lot of different events going on in those zones, and within those events you're going to see a lot of people doing them. Like you might even see like 20 people like just mobbing on a particular event boss that scales to the amount of people in the zone, and you have to like work together to take down that particular boss. And it's a really fun type of action RPG because every part of the map is very fun to explore because there's different like treasure areas that you can get into, and different things to kill, different special mobs to kill. There's also the fact that every hero is very in-depth because it has its own skill tree, alongside the fact that you can level up to 60, and then you can also take a look into like the infinity point system, which acts kind of like Paragon levels from Diablo 3. It's actually a new thing that they added in. Before, it was a very convoluted system that added more depth into your character, but now it's a lot more streamlined, a lot more simplistic, and in my opinion better, because before it was like a web of different things that you can unlock and it just was really messy.
Spiderweb.
Yeah, spiderweb. And there's a lot of depth within the heroes, as I briefly went over a moment ago, but there's also depth within the gear as well. There's different gear sets that you can sort of aim to get. There's also the fact that you have different sort of medallions that you can get that further enhance your character as well. And then you have all the different characters you can play that you can try and obtain gear for too, that just sort of makes it a huge deep ocean of, you know, different possibilities there. And combine that with the fact that the game, you know, plays very smoothly and is just very impactful as well. It just creates a really awesome experience for people who love Marvel that maybe also love action RPGs.
Yeah, so what I like a lot, I mean, yeah, you mentioned like the heroes that you can collect. It's like a sort of MOBA style thing where they sometimes add a new hero as well. I mean, now they have so many heroes that they can just add to the PlayStation and later Xbox One version, because yeah, they're now sitting on it obviously, because yeah, they're already out on PC. So that will be super interesting, but you can obtain them like for free, right, as well?
Yeah, exactly. Just by playing the game, you get, I forget the exact name from, but it's something splinters, just by going through, killing things, and they drop just randomly on the floor and you can pick them up. And I think there's other ways you can get to splinters as well, but it's really one of those things where each character has its own sort of feel as well. It's not like these 60 playable characters all feel the same way. That's one thing that I was worried about initially when the game released and they were, you know, releasing more and more heroes, was okay, well, eventually it's gonna seem like they kind of copy pasted but just added a skin. Right? We see that with a lot of different games out there, particularly MOBAs that have like over 100 heroes that you could choose from. Eventually some things are going to seem like, oh, they just copied that ability, maybe added a different skin on it. But so far, at least from what I played on Marvel Heroes, that hasn't happened. But I can't say that I played every single hero because I just haven't. So maybe some characters have like one ability or so that's kind of the same. But for the most part, all of them have their own personalities. They have their own sort of play styles. They have their own trees for you to spec into and sort of alter the feel of the hero, your own play style. So there's a lot of depth there for you to sort of delve into, and for the most part you can unlock most things fairly easily if you just play the game. But I'm not going to come out here and say that you can unlock all the 38 heroes very quickly, because that's just not the case. And that's how sort of free-to-play games work, is especially in this case where you have to play a good bit of the game to unlock everything. But that's why the level 10 system, where you can play all the heroes at level 10, that's really good. And they added that a while ago, and a lot of people love that, because that way you can sort of get your feet wet with a particular hero and figure out if you actually want to buy them with your splinters or with real money before you actually buy them, before you just had to blind buy them and hope that, you know, for the best based off of what you read about them. But that isn't the case anymore.
Okay, that's actually pretty cool, and it's also like a lot of like replaying the same content, right? That if you have a new hero, you have to level them up again, so you start like over, right?
Yeah, that's basically how it works, and that's what we saw with Diablo 3 as well. A lot of people play that game, play through the same content over and over and over again. That's one of my actual knocks with Marvel Heroes Omega, is the fact that they may release a lot of heroes, which is definitely a monetary incentive for them to do so, because if you want to play a particular character that they release, you might buy them just outright because you don't want to have to grind the splinters or whatever. So I definitely understand it from a business perspective why they want to release characters, but they should also release actual areas too. And that's one thing that they just haven't really done, is release a lot of new areas for you to explore, maybe new chapters for you to take part in. And that's something for me, as not necessarily like a hardcore action ARPG guy, that's really turned me off from continuing to play Marvel Heroes, is the fact that I have to replay the same content over and over and over again, and they don't even throw me a bone every once in a while and give me like a new zone to go through that I can just grind over and over and over again. Like, I'm a big scenery guy. I can't be seeing the same stuff over and over. It has to at least change up a little bit. And Marvel Heroes, as much as it changes up a little bit, because I believe some of the maps like randomly generate in different ways, it's not enough for me to really want to continue playing that content over and over and over again, especially with 60 playable characters. That's so many times that you'll have to replay the content if you level every single one. Of course, by the time those characters release all the way on console, right now it's only 38, but still 38 is a lot of replayability, but also a lot of repeating the same stuff.
Repeatability,
repeatability.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
It's also standard practice with the ARPGs, but also what really helps it out is the fact that there's local co-op, and There's also, you know, different danger rooms you can do, which are kind of like dungeons that you can group up with people and do, and trials as well, which I believe, if I remember correctly, are sort of raids, and I think there's also PvP as well. I'm not sure if they're bringing that over, but there's some other stuff that you can do as well that's not necessarily like going through the same 9-chapter storylines again. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of repeating of content here.
Yeah.
But that's literally the same as every other ARPG. The only one that really does it the proper way, I think, is Path of Exile, which is also coming to consoles. I believe only the Xbox One as of right now, but maybe in the future for the PS4, because Grinding Gear game just adds so much content. It's unbelievable. But no other ARPG even matches them in that regard. So I can't really hold everyone to that standard because no one else does it except for them.
Yeah, exactly. So one last question: how's the end game? Like, what can you do? There are some raids, right, or like a huge group of activities?
Yeah, so it's basically like the danger room trials. There's also areas that are more end game focused as well, that have a lot of different events going on. So like there's this one area, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but a lot of high level people reside in it, because literally every minute of every single day there's like world bosses spawning that everyone flocks to, that drop a ton of loot. There's also higher difficulties that you can unlock and utilize as well, which add even more challenge and also more loot rewards too. So there's a lot of stuff that that is at the end game, but some of it also is sort of repeated content once again, because it's an ARPG. So you're definitely not going to have that's one of my also complaints about the game, is that end game, it's very easy to sort of get through and feel like, oh well, what else is here? But for the most part, I mean, by the time you hit that point, you're really going to be like at 100 hours, or maybe a little less if you just sort of play like one hero. So there's definitely a lot of, you know, really awesome, entertaining hours for you to sort of delve into for free. Especially if you're a Marvel fan. I mean, if you're a Marvel fan, there's really no reason, other than maybe like a really terrible data cap if you're in the States, that would prevent you from downloading this game to at least try it out, because it's a really fun game. There's just some things that I wish would be improved, but that's with every game.
So yeah, one thing that kind of stood out, of course, we tried it on the PlayStation 4 as well, is the performance. Right now it's kind of rough, especially when you're in like an open area with other people running around. The frame drops like happen occasionally, pretty often, and I had a glitch once that you will see right now, where all my skills suddenly disappeared. So I did not have a clue what I was doing, but still the skills triggered, but I did not see the icon. So yeah, what is your take on that? Of course, yeah, you can compare it really well with the PC. I can imagine that that's not really the case. Of course, this is still in beta for consoles, but it should have been better right now.
Yeah, so I was kind of worried about that, because the PS4 CPU isn't really that great, and so on the PC you were able to see that it really needed a good CPU to really shine. It was very CPU bound in terms of the performance. So I was like, okay, I was wondering, are they going to aim for 60? Are they going to go 30? But it definitely seems like they were limited by the CPU in this regard, because like whenever there's a lot of fire on the screen or a lot of particles, you definitely see the game chug a bit, and that kind of sucks because it's an ARPG, of course, and so you want to have that really snappy movement, that snappy response time, stuff like that. But unless they change it in a couple patches or so, it definitely does suffer from FPS issues, that's for sure.
Yeah, totally. And we see it as well with like other games, like the free-to-play MMO that also launched, that we also did a video on, like Skyforge, that also has in the open areas with other people running around some frame rate issues. So maybe there are some problems with it porting to PC. But yeah, like we said, it's beta right now, so hopefully they will fix it soon. So totally check it out. Let us know what you think about the game. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments down below as well. And subscribe for more gaming discussion like this. Maybe if Path of the Exile sometimes comes to PS4, we will discuss this as well, because I guess you played that as well, right?
Yeah, I played that a little bit, not as much as Marvel Heroes, though.
Okay, interesting. Now we will see, but it's cool to see that all these games are like finding their way to console, because I think Diablo 3 came out like 3 years now on the PS4. So yeah, it's time for a new ARPG. Like, it has been a while, maybe some sort of indie games, but this is like a real, not really AAA maybe. It's cool to have something like this with an awesome universe. So totally check it out. Thanks a lot for watching again, and Zach, thanks a lot, of course, for sharing your thoughts on Marvel Heroes. We will talk to you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.